This message, titled Revival is Like Judgment Day, was presented by Dr. J. Edwin Orr on April 21st, 1987.
But I'd be glad if you'd remember me in your prayers. The Lord will give me strength for the occasion and bless the message that, shall I say, comes hot off the griddle. I just finished jotting these notes down before and after supper. Now, I take it that you understand that D.L. Moody was a product of a great spiritual awakening. I was talking to Sidney Alstrom, the great Lutheran historian, and I told him I was re-researching the story of the 1858 revival. He said, "Who started that? Moody?" I said, "No, sir." He said, "You surprised me." I said, "Not Moody." I said, "Moody didn't start the 1858 revival. The 1858 revival started Moody." There's all the difference in the world. You know that about 1884, Moody went to Cambridge University for a special meeting. Moody was scared of students. He couldn't spell. He spelled Philadelphia with an F. You don't see this in his books because they're all edited. They thought that publishing Moody as he wrote or spoke was not glorifying to the Lord. So now in these candid days we have a different attitude. But when the Cambridge students heard that an illiterate American was coming, they determined to show him his place. First night, when the rector of St. Mary's led in prayer, the students punctuated with, "Hear, hear." That's not proper in church. All right in Parliament. When Sankey sang, they sang a parody along with him. Moody preached on Daniel in the den of lions. Maybe he felt that way. But you know that the Hebrew word Daniel has 3 syllables, Daniel. The English word at least 2, Daniel. But Moody pronounced it with 1, Daniel. Oh, come on now, you've heard of Daniel Boone and Daniel Webster, haven't you? That was the American way. And every time he mispronounced the name Daniel, that brought the house down, they tramped their feet, they clapped their hands, they cheered, and Moody had to wait for silence. They were having a good time at his expense. He told Sankey that night, "Sankey, I've got no hankering for this crowd." But he was no coward either. 1,000 came to the first meeting to ride him. Only 100 to the second meeting. I think it was a Wednesday morning. Mr. Gerald Lander of Trinity College sent in his visiting card, wished to see Mr. Moody. Moody said, "Bring him in." When Moody saw this young man, he recognized him as one of the ringleaders. So he said, "What can I do for you, sir?" He said, "Mr. Moody, I was one of those who thought that you were singularly unequipped to speak to gentlemen. But, sir," he said, "as I observed you on the platform, you were the only gentleman in the meeting. Sir," he said, "I wish to apologize." Moody held out his hand. He said, "I'll forgive you if you come to the rest of the meetings." Gerald Lander was in the front seat. Moody waited till Friday to give an invitation. First man forward was Gerald Lander, who became Bishop of Hong Kong. Out of that meeting came the Cambridge 7 university students who became famous missionaries. They also helped Moody while they were in training in his great campaigns. One of them was W.W. Cassels, who became Bishop of Sichuan. Now, I want to stress this point. You heard of the Shantung revival. Miss Olive was there. But that revival was felt in every province of China. And when it reached Sichuan, W. Castle summed it up in 5 words. Surprise? 5 words. He said, it is like Judgment Day. Now, Miss Olive is right here, and she won't mind my referring to her. She remembers what she saw in China when she was a young missionary. It wasn't hooping and hollering. It was like Judgment Day, with weeping and confessing. A lot of people think that revival is a tremendous time of excitement and a great roll call of converts and so forth. It begins like Judgment Day, with the Holy Spirit exposing all the sins of the church. Now, this is something we don't realize. That first stage of revival, after the prayer, is conviction of sin. Judgment precedes blessing. Now, I've told you stories of the Welsh revival. 100,000 people outside the churches converted and joined the churches in 5 months. 5 years later, someone wrote a book to debunk the movement and complained that after 5 years, only 75% still stood. He said many were lost to mission halls and to the Pentecostals. Some of them couldn't stand the dryness that some people wanted to go back to. Now, have you ever heard of Campbell Morgan? Great Bible teacher. I met him personally. What did he say about the Welsh revival? He said it was marked by confession. Some very costly confessions. I was preaching in Riga, which is now capital of Soviet Latvia, in 1935. I was speaking in Agenskalna Baptist Church. The pastor was my interpreter. While I was speaking, a woman suddenly cried out in the middle of the audience and collapsed. Her husband and several deacons and the pastor helped carry her out. I couldn't continue the meeting. I didn't know any Lettish. The pastor came back. He said, I don't understand. She's one of the pillars of the church. She's our superintendent of Sunday school. Next day he went to visit her. I was thinking, well, what did I say? I mean, why did that happen like that? I had never to that moment, up to that time, seen prostration. By the way, people have asked me if prostration is the same as being slain in the Spirit today.